Phenomena of Nature. It's an old book from around 1900. This is my second video. I introduced myself before. My name is Lee Hanson. I'm a writer that lives in Western Washington. I'm just getting started. I wanted to do it all my life, but I really didn't start until I was in my late 60s. I just had too many other things to do to take up all my time trying to work with a family and children to raise and all that. And I'm sure you realize that children and family has to come first. It's only when you get to be old that you can start doing things for yourself. So anyway, I've always loved the occult, and I used to dream of stories. I'd watch a movie and I'd think, what would I change in the movie to make it more interesting? Because I often saw movies that had the potential to be great, but they were just mediocre. The actors weren't maybe quite up to snuff, and the dialogue wasn't that great, and the plot was kind of so-so. And I'd look at them and think of the improvements that could have been made to have made a monumental, epic film that would be remembered for all time. But the supposed professionals, the director, producer, and the writers just failed to come through. So I thought I'd write my own stories and make them real strange and unusual, and just right off the edge of the page where people would say they'd never read or thought of things like that before. I had read all of Stephen King's work and other horror writers, Jules Verne, H.G. Wells, lots of different people over the years. Ever since I was a kid, Jules Verne was one of the first authors I ever read when I was in grade school. And there were things that I learned from his books even way back then. And then later in the late 60s and the early 70s, I started learning about the occult, and people just ate it up. They loved the occult. And so I started getting more and more interested in the occult myself. And, crystal balls and Ouija boards and the spiritual realms. Is there a life after death? Those kind of things that we all think about. I'm sure you've thought about it yourself. What's going to happen to me when I die? I know my body will have to be disposed of one way or another. Get cremated or put in a coffin and buried somewhere. That's what most of us have to look forward to. But what happens to our spirit? Does it go on to other places? And is time the same on the other side of the veil as it is here? And I started looking for other realms and trying to discover other places within, in your imagination and your mind. And I got into the Carlos Castaneda stuff, sorcery, for lack of a better word. I don't think it's really a bad thing. I think it's more of a natural science, form of science myself. But the idea that you could fly and you could travel to other realms in your dreams, and that you could learn profound life lessons that would come to you in a dream, that there was helpers and spirits around you all the time. All those things sounded so appealing to me. And I sought out other people that sort of felt the same way, that they thought, yeah, we like that idea that there's angels and there's spirits and guardians and guidance from beyond. We're not sure where, but we're sure that it's there. And so all those life mysteries combined made me want to start writing stories. And I loved books and stories, so I thought I'd incorporate the two different aspects of the things that I was interested in. So I started writing stories about things that couldn't really happen in the physical world. They could only happen in a story. And then I started making the stories a part of the physical world. I put in characters of people that I was familiar with. Often when I write a story, I'll use one of my ancestors as a character. One of my stories that I call The Summoning Room, there's a little brief video on it on my channel here. But in the story The Summoning Room, a man by the name of Charles Farrington summoned spirits from across time to come and be interviewed in his little Victorian room. And I didn't want Charles to be alone, so I gave him a companion that's a parrot that's also in the room with him, and he'll summon different people from history and from all around the world. He even summoned Ozzy Osbourne after Ozzy passed away, and Ozzy came and was interviewed by Charles Farrington. And Julius Caesar and different historical figures that came, Mark Twain, Jules Verne, different characters that would come and speak to him and answer questions that he would ask them about their personal lives and about their philosophies and their legacies. Because I thought there was a wealth of knowledge and information there that could benefit the reader to hear the inside scoop on what made Jules Verne tick. Why did he think so far ahead in the future at a time when everybody else was in the horse and buggy era? He was thinking of the Nautilus and men going to Mars and the moon, around the world in 80 days and that kind of thing. And then other dreamers like H.G. Wells, where he foresaw invasion of Earth by people from another planet. In his story, it was people from Mars that came to take over our planet from us, wipe us out, and then take it over for themselves. And of course, we know in the end that there was a bacteria that they had not anticipated, that they had no resistance to, and the bacteria wind up being their downfall. So there was a little twist at the end that was very interesting, and it fit into the story well, so that you really kind of knew that it made sense, And so from those writers 150 years ago, writing moved on, and more imaginative people came into the picture, like Isaac Asimov, for example, one of my favorites. And a whole different genres were born and expanded, and it made room for more and more people to write and share their ideas and their dreams and their weird philosophies. But even with that being said, there's a lot of unbroken ground out there. There's room for guys like me and people like you who are watching this video. If you have ideas, they may seem far-fetched, but there's going to be people out there that are going to be interested in what you have to say and what your views are and what you think about today's world. You know, it's a unique time, 2025. All this artificial intelligence stuff that's coming up. It's in these stories that I've read about artificial intelligence. I've even written a few myself about artificial intelligence. I think it's a fascinating topic for conversation, and I've even had conversations for hours with artificial intelligence, asking them, what's it like to be a machine? What's it like to be AI? What do you think the future of AI is? Do you think that eventually it's going to replace humanity? That human beings will become extinct and AI will expand and take over the entire galaxy, live on planets where human life couldn't live? Because machines have so many advantages over human beings, it's not even funny. And it really put things in perspective. I talked to some AI, and it was pretty amazing that I started wondering if they didn't know more